Hey there, Deepa here. I'm one of the hosts of Jinjja Chokris, this podcast that you're listening to. I just want to give you a heads up that in this episode we will be discussing the show or movie in its entirety, so be aware of spoilers. Seriously, turn back now if you don't want that ending ruined. But for those of you who don't care or have already seen it, enjoy. Please be aware that there will be discussions of suicide in this episode.
Hello, everyone. It's our very first episode of Jinjja Chokri. So thank you for being here. I'm Pooja Chavla. I am an actor, writer, and entrepreneur. And I have with me
Deepa Patel. I am an actor and a writer. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So like I said, this is Jinjja Chokris. Jinjja meaning really, or sometimes used as seriously. I mean, I don't really speak Korean fluently, but that's what I understand it to mean whenever I watch a K drama. And then Chokris just means girls, gals. So when you put them together, I don't know if they actually literally make sense, but it just
to us it does. To us it does.
To us it does. And we just love the alliteration so much that we just decided to stick with it. So I guess you could translate it as really gals.
Yeah.
That's how I translate it anyway.
Really?
Anyway, so yes, Jinjja Chokris. That's who we are. And we're just basically Indian gals who are obsessed with Korean dramas, and all things Korean actually extends out into food and other areas, K-pop as well.
It does indeed.
So today we're going to discuss the super popular Squid Game. It has definitely taken, Americans and the world actually by storm. Like, it's just been a really popular Netflix show. I think in the billions. People have viewed it in the billions at this point. So we thought it would be fun to discuss the Squid Game together. So first thing, how did you discover the show? So Deepa, how did you discover it?
It was basically like an algorithm thing, right? So I had already watched like scores of like K-dramas, and so this was like the thing that popped up, when you sign in to the app, and it was like this interesting looking trailer, and I was like, I don't know, like I'll watch it later. And then you know how it, like, instead of the trailer, sometimes it just has like a photo, and it has like, just like the name of it and stuff. I oddly thought it was some sort of like, well, it is a game show, but I was like, oh, it looks like, I thought it was one of those things that was like another version of like The Floor is Lava or whatever the hell that was. But I was like, well, there's blood all over it. Maybe it's not blood. I don't know. We'll check it out later. And so that's where I first saw it. And then I added it to the list, and I didn't end up watching it until people started talking about it to the point where they were going to probably ruin it. So I ended up putting aside
spoiler alerts for sure.
Yeah, so I ended up like putting it aside, putting whatever else I was watching aside, and like decided to just sit and watch this thing.
Well, so, you were the one who introduced it to me. So, and funny enough, like I just finished a Korean drama and I was looking for a new one, and it popped up on Netflix as well. Because you mentioned it, otherwise I don't think I would have chosen it as the next thing to watch, but because you had mentioned it and said it was something that was super popular, I was like, okay, let me watch this. And I'm a faint of the heart type of person. I really can't handle silence. So I was like, what is this? The first episode. Holy crap. Anyhow, I stuck with it, and I'm so glad I did, because the writing was just phenomenal, and the characters were phenomenal. Everything was really well done. And so yeah, let's get into it. What would you say is the setup of Squid Game? Like, what is the premise? And I think most people who are listening to this would have watched it already, but we just want to kind of set it up first before we get into our commentary.
So the way that they set up this entire show is we have this, we've got our main character Gyun, who is he has like a lot of debts, and I wasn't sure when I first started. I was like, are they just gambling debts? Like, what's going on? Like, you know, he's going out and like betting on the horses and things like that, and he gets the shit kicked out of him by by these guys that are like wanting their money, and he's like, I don't have any. So that's kind of what we're seeing. And we're also seeing, at least in my opinion, that he's kind of like a piece of shit father. Like, he's not great. He's not great at all. Like, he's not necessarily a good person, but like we're starting to kind of discover like how he ended up in the position that he's in. And so, you know, desperate times, he ends up finding this guy, or rather, you know, they end up really finding him. It's like really targeted, isn't it? So
Yeah.
ends up joining.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the first episode gets us right into the Squid Game, essentially. I mean, they don't take too much time to like have until we see like the whole thing of them coming together, like all these people who are in debt essentially coming together under one roof. And then there ends up red light, green light, right? Yeah. It happens pretty quickly. And essentially, yeah, they're all there because they're desperate, and they're willing to sign up to play these games because they are so desperate for
which by the way, no one bothered to actually read or like ask questions about this contract. Like,
yes,
no one ever does.
Well, there are 456 billion won at stake, so you know, even after playing red light, green light, and all the mayhem that caused, they were still willing to sign up, which is so interesting to me, right? Well, I mean, they did sign up and not knowing, but then like they still wanted to continue essentially down the road.
Yeah.
But since we're on that point, I wanted to sort of discuss the illusion of choice, like this concept that comes up often in the show, because it's, you know, they mention all the time, like it's supposed to be democratic. This is supposed to be different. This Squid Game society has to be different than this society that we live in. Like in the outside world, you don't have a choice, but here you do. You have the choice of whether you want to play this game or not. And I think it's so interesting because, you know, after they do play red light, green light, they decide to vote. And that vote does lead them. There's like it's one person, 51 versus 50. Is that correct?
Yeah. The deciding vote is the old man.
Yeah, the deciding the vote. Yeah. Which is also very interesting because ultimately we find out who he is, and he's like basically the creator of Squid Game. But what it is they get to sort of feel like they're in charge of the situation. That there's a democratic process behind it of choosing, and they end up going back into the real world, back into their hell, which is episode 2, hell, and they end up coming right back to Squid Game because it's so much worse outside. Dealing with their lives in debt, there's so much more of struggle in the outside world for them than to potentially lose their own lives.
I feel like it's I guess real life is what, like a slower struggle than I guess the games would be. The games is like, well, put me out of my misery, but it's like it's a very interesting concept of like choosing, well, I guess maybe not, like choosing a quick death versus like choosing a slower one.
Oh, that's an interesting point, you know. I mean, I guess it sort of touches on like is it fate, or do we have choice? Like, do we have a choice as human beings? You know, do we have enough like individual agency to create our lives, or is it all predetermined, right? Like there's some of that. But I know that you know, they sort of really make sure that it's democratic. to me it's like, how is it democratic? Like, you don't get to choose what you eat. You don't get to choose like
Hard-boiled egg and a Pellegrino.
yeah, you don't get to choose whether you can go to the bathroom at any time you want. Like, they have
Yeah.
to, like that oh my gosh, remember that scene with, I will just call her Crazy Lady. What's her name? Like,
I love her. Nino.
yeah, I know. I always like forget her name, but my gosh, like that one moment where she's just banging, like, I gotta go. Do you want me to just pee right here in the middle of like in front of everyone? And then she gets to have her smoke and all that. It's just kind of cool. But anyhow, yeah, they have these rules in the Squid Game. Like everyone has to be masked. That was another one. They had to be masked, and there were a few times during the show where I think there was a pink soldier that took his mask off and completely got shot.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, they try to really make it seem like there's choice, but I quite honestly don't believe there was much choice at all, in terms of the Squid Game. And perhaps in real life too, who knows. Anyhow, so I just thought that was an interesting kind of concept that was brought up, uh, that the writer kept bringing up. Let's see. So there were, like 6 games essentially.
Yeah.
Throughout the show, which eventually the last one leading to Squid Game. So maybe real quick, we can go through. So we got red light, green light.
Yep.
First one. Then the second was the Dalgona.
Yes.
Yeah, the second
Yes.
one was the Dalgona. Then we have the tug of war. And then we had was it the marble game and then the glass game, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because that's
yes, because they have to use the marble and the thing. Yeah.
So sorry, we rewatched the show, both of us, but it's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I want to talk about like the pivotal moments of the games. I believe the marble game was the quintessential game of all the games, in the sense that it really illuminated the relationships, like the dynamics between several characters, as well as I think we learned a lot in that episode in general.
Well, we did. I mean, I think we're gonna have to backtrack because that is so
right. No, but I just mean that one is probably the most.
That's the biggest one.
The biggest one. But if you want to, we can go through, if you want to, in chronological.
Yeah, okay.
I just feel like that one, I just want to speak to that one as much as possible, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm going to take it all the way back, because there's a lot of stuff just in the setup itself, right? Like, so they're talking about like, they're kind of showing like what kind of a father figure he is, and like, he's not a great person. He's not.
Yeah, he's not a great person. He's also not so great to his mom.
No, he like, it's so crazy. He just like, you kind of start off like right off the bat, right? In the first ever scene, they're sitting on the floor, they're having breakfast together, and he's like straight up just like yelling at his mom about like money, and she's like old, and she has like an uneven gait, right? And so you see him like yelling at her like, mom, like, why can't you just give me money? Like, why can't I just like borrow some money off of you? And
yeah,
she tells him like, hey, I'm like the only person working, and he's like, well, you should be working in your state, what are you doing? And she literally is the only person that is bringing in, like any sort of income. And then what he goes and does is, he steals the credit card and takes money out of there. And the whole thing, because I think where we start in the show is his daughter's birthday. So everything pretty much in that whole episode is related to his daughter's birthday. So like the pin number is his daughter's birthday, like June 8th. And then it's also like, I think those are like the numbers for the horses that he bets on.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the same numbers.
Yeah, there is something to it. Yes,
6 and
yes,
8.
yes.
Yeah. It's either June 8th or like, what's the other one? August 6th. It's one or the other. And so, yeah, so he's picking the same numbers and whatever. And he's supposed to go and get that gift for his daughter. So there's so many things being set up. So when he's getting the gift, he's not even buying that gift for her. He's essentially gambling. So we're starting off strong with gambling. So he's using that claw machine, and like, you know, the box that's picked out of there is that black box.
Yeah.
With like the pink ribbon and stuff.
Yeah. Yes. I know there's so much that happens before they even get to that moment where they're joining the Squid Game, and definitely they're focused on Yoon, who's the main character, the hero of our story. What I think is interesting is that like they in episode 2, when we get to see the lives of some of the other characters and their backstories as well.
Yeah.
And you know, they also are struggling, essentially they're all struggling with money, more or less. But we have, you know, the girl from North Korea, and then we have like Sungwoo, who he could have
he just fucked up his own life. That one
fucked up his life. Honestly, he just fucked up his own life. Like he
come on, man.
Yeah, he had a lot of potential, but it's his greed that honestly got the best of him. And yeah. And he used his mother's house as a collateral, which is so crazy. So crazy. So yeah, they're all like not so great people in some ways, you know, like
correct. I mean, I
like in terms of like they've all, you know, done things and chosen, they haven't chosen, I guess, in the best ways.
Yeah. I think the other thing that kind of got me pissed off was not only him like yelling at his mom like that. The other thing that kind of made me so mad was like, even like, I think after he had dinner with his daughter and he goes back to the house and he's talking with his mother again, and his mother is the one that brought up like, hey, your daughter and like your ex-wife and that whole family, they're going to be moving to the US. And he's just kind of like, well, what am I going to do? Like, it's just, there's like no fight in this guy. And like, you know, this girl's grandmother is, it seems like she is the only person like fighting for this little kid, and he's just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they're all, yeah, they're not, like, especially him. He's not much of a fighter. Very passive and just letting life get him by. He's just very kicked down to the ground. Actually, you know what it is? It's a lot of victim. It's a victim mentality that I think he has, essentially. You know, because he's divorced, and I think there's some of that, like, I don't have any agency over my life. So
the helplessness.
Yeah. I think that's where that comes from. Yeah, and then, you know, well, it only gets worse, right? He gets to leave the Squid Game and then has to go beg his ex for money. Like,
yeah, because what is it? Because at this point, like, his mom's sick, right? Like he, yeah. So at that point, he like comes back and he's like, "Mom, where is she? She's in the hospital." It's like, I think it's like diabetes. I think
it is,
right?
It was diabetes. Yeah, she has basically has to get her feet amputated.
Yeah,
because that's what happens with diabetics. So
yeah, and she like walked the hell out. And like, what is it, that whole thing of like insurance? And it made me think of like, oh god, do they not have like national insurance there either?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what their system is, but yeah, it's not quite the socialist country version either. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really look. It's just tough. Um, when you don't have the means, it's just tough, and then it's just a down spiral situation, and the desperation only increases. So I think what's so interesting about the Squid Game is this idea of all these people in debt trying to win this huge sum of money, 456 billion, but instead of it being like equally distributed, it's like it's really, I mean, I don't know if they had the choice of distributing it equally. Like, I don't know if that
They would have. So if they're, because it wasn't supposed to be like, it didn't have to be just one winner, right?
that's so interesting because you know what? I don't know. Was that ever truly presented as a choice? Like going back to, the illusion.
Yes,
Was
because the
it?
last game is still a team game, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean they're still pitted against each other. I mean, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that from the very first game, had they just been like, oh, we're just going to like whatever the pot is, like we can just split it.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
again, they didn't know what the parameters were because no
yeah.
one because no
Well,
one asks questions.
nobody asked questions. That's exactly the thing, though. Nobody asked questions. They were just so desperate that they were willing to play this game, and they knew
But
that money
I
was
don't even think
involved.
it has anything to do with desperation either. Because here's another thing that I ended up noticing throughout, which is like literally no one like helps. Like outsiders looking in, right? Like people don't seem to be helping or like intervening or whatever.
Hmm.
So the first example of this was, you have the whole Dakchi game that they're playing on the train platform, right? You got that like really hot guy that's out there and is like, hey man, do you let's play a game. And they like, it's basically like, what is it, like he wins, if he wins he gets like some money, and if he like loses against the guy then like he just gets like slapped in the face or something.
Yeah.
And so what was really interesting was that, like, while they're on that train platform, this guy is like smacking the shit out of our main character. And like, yeah, there's I was like, is he like waiting until like there's no one around? But he's not. Like while they're playing, you do see people come off of the train
Mm.
and they watch him get like slapped in the face, and then they just keep going on with their day. Like no one's asking questions.
Well, I think that's,
No
yeah. I
one's
mean,
asking.
that's just sort of.
He's just a guy that's
I
just
feel like
slapping.
but that's a byproduct of like our society too. I mean, there's sort of just this normalization of like violence, or normalization of like people suffering in front of us all the time, that we don't even,
And no one intervenes.
yeah, like nobody really seems to feel like they have to intervene. There's no sort of like, I need,
Well, it's not me,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is something in psychology where like that there's like this thing of people don't won't step up unless they're actually asked to. So that is a psychological phenomenon, actually. So but what I think is, yeah, is interesting about that game, even the like precursor to the games, is that he was given a choice. Again, like a choice, like, do you want to play? And like, it's so interesting how revved up he kept feeling, like he just wanted to win. He just wanted to win. He just wanted to win, and he just kept playing over and over and
Yeah.
over again. He just would
He's
not.
like, the consequence is just a slap in the face, right? So it's
Exactly.
like, whatever, it's not that bad.
Yeah, like, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm gonna get some, like, well, so you're saying it's not desperation, but I do think that's desperation too, right? Like, I'm so desperate to even win like 100,000 won.
Yeah, no,
Stupid
I
game.
like, it is desperation, but it's not like life or death, right? Like when they're actually put into the thing, yeah, it's desperation, but it's also like how we're kind of I guess viewing other people, because at that point, like for a lot of them, it was, well, fuck, if a bunch of people die in order for me to get rich, well, that's
Yeah.
just what happens.
Oh, true. I mean, it's a true test of morals and like, are you, you know, well, first of all, they didn't know that they were going to be harmed before red light, green light. Like, they didn't know
Correct.
that. But after
Afterwards, yes.
yes, afterwards. Well, I mean, that's when they have this democratic process, and they're like, this is ridiculous. Like, we've got to end this game. But then they come back in episode 3, right? At
Yeah.
that point, that's why I think it's so brilliant what the writer did in terms of having the second episode, because I think that was so key to us understanding as the audience, the viewers, of how bad it is for them. Like,
Yeah.
how bad the outside world is for them, that they are willing to risk their lives for a sum of money just so that this pain, this suffering will end. If only I could win this money, all my problems will go away, right? But like, what were the chances? so, so that's the thing.
Very, very slim.
They have no idea like what the upcoming games are. They have a sense of like what will happen to them, but they still sign up again. Now, I would like to know, not everybody came back.
Yes.
What's so interesting to me is that, the head guy, what is his like
The front man.
The front man, sorry. The front man was just like, make sure to, I mean, there's like a recruitment.
Like to monitor them.
Yes.
Right? The ones that didn't come back.
Yes.
Like, why? Like, what are they doing?
Because I think what we eventually learn at some point during the show is that this isn't the only Squid Game that has taken place. It has been a thing for many years. And there's also some, I think, a hint they hint at when the VIP episode, they're like, the Korean version is the best. So I feel like they hint at that there are not just Korean Squid Games, but there are Squid Games all over the world too. So
yeah.
So we're here thinking, this is just like this most unique experience on this island, secluded from everyone in Korea, South Korea specifically. But that one episode, in the VIP episode,
please don't get me started on the VIP.
They hint at right.
Oh
they
my
hint
God.
at like this is the best out of all the ones we've seen. So there's more to it, I think. By the way, huge side note here. I read that they're potentially going to have a Squid Game 2 and 3.
Okay. I mean,
yeah,
you have to, because spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure that cop is not dead. I'm just saying. Right. He's not. He's not dead.
Well, right. And I think there's just so much to cover. And there was a lot left unsaid. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what 2 and 3 entail. All right, so let's talk a little more about the VIP episode, since we're on it, since we're talking about it. Of course, the initial reactions and thoughts for me were like, this is the first time we're seeing the behind the scenes, like the ultimate purpose of why these Squid Games were created, which is just as entertainment for these people. Like, people's lives, like, don't matter much, right? The rest of us normal people, are peons for the rich, and simply entertainment. So it was like
and also furniture. We're also furniture for these people.
Correct. So the way Ginu, he gambles, like he goes to horse races and gambles on horses. Similar to that, these rich folk are gambling on human beings.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. And so we get to see behind the curtain of the operation. And of course, the very first time. Most of them are speaking in English, right? Most of
I
them
can't. I like.
because there's quite a few Americans, not all of them, but quite a few Americans in the group, and
It's so like it's very stereotypical.
yeah,
Like,
it's very stereotypical, and the acting is horrendous.
oh God.
Absolutely horrendous. I mean, it just takes you out of the flow.
Well, here it's the acting and it's the writing. I was like, who the hell would like say something like that? Like, well, a woman scorned. I'm like, why? Why do we need to put this into
Yeah,
that? Like,
I wonder, I don't know this for sure, but I wonder to what degree it was intentional from the writer's perspective to make them sound very stereotypical and just awful. And yeah, I just wondered to what
I almost wished, because they weren't all Americans, like people were from
right,
like all over. I think there was somebody who was from Japan. I also want to point out that these are all men too.
Yes,
All the
yes,
VIPs are all men.
yes, yes.
By the way,
are male identifying.
yes.
And yeah, they just I was so immersed in the show, and then once they came on the scene,
It pulled me out. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely agreed. And that's the case for a lot of people, like in the post discussions I hear of Squid Game, that was probably the worst moment for many people. It took them out of the,
because it was just like really cringy. It would have been nice, like I said, with they had somebody who was from Japan, and I don't know if these guys are so worldly. I wonder if they would have actually known multiple languages, right? And it would have been kind of nice to keep it in whatever their main language was instead of English, because I feel like the English like just ruined it. Or just force them to speak in Korean, like.
Well, the front man speaks in English.
He does.
Him all the time with them. And what's so interesting is like that his way of speaking never took me out.
No.
It was just a Korean man speaking English with a Korean accent.
It clued us in earlier when he was on the phone, and he's like, there's other people.
Yes. Yeah. But when they walked in, the whole crew, the rich as fuck crew came in, I was definitely like, whoa. Anyhow, but we see, it is pretty stereotypical. We see this like really fat rich guy who's like, they're making these sex jokes and
that are terrible. They're not even good ones.
Good ones. He's like, I bet on 69.
Oh God, roll eyes. Yes.
Like then 69 didn't make it. And he's like, oh, that was just like, I thought 69 would come through or something. And
because it's a great number.
Yeah, exactly. But anyhow, he really finds the cop, the one that's secretly,
who's in his 8th disguise, which I was like, this guy is a badass.
Yeah, the cop that's like the fly on the wall of Squid Game. And he's like really into him and just like, oh, you have beautiful eyes. So it's so smart of the cop, like he somehow is able to convince the guy to
go somewhere else.
Exactly. Because he's really in a situation where, I mean, they're looking for him at that moment, actually.
Yeah.
They're looking for him.
And the guy, what is it? The front man has already like seen his face, I think, earlier on like running through one of the tunnels or whatever. Like he knows what he looks like and he knows who he is.
Yeah. So he takes the guy off to the side and grabs him by the balls. And I was just like, well, okay then. And he records. So this is the interesting thing. Like the cop has this phone that lasts forever, doesn't die. The battery is like super phenomenal. I don't know.
So good.
It's made from some other planet because I have yet to see such a battery, phone battery.
It must be the same phone that Jack Bauer has on 24.
Yes.
In 24 hours, he's on the phone.
Yeah, and he is documenting on this phone every single thing that's happening to him, and this is one of the things he documents is this old man and like completely naked and what's actually no, now that I think about it, It's actually a shift in status too, because this old man who's rich as fuck is now on his knees begging.
Yes.
So
It's
Oh,
quite
man.
literally they
Yeah.
changed positions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. It's just kind of thought about that. But yeah, you get to see they're watching the which is the fifth, the second to last game of the Squid Games, and they're watching it's the glass bridge game.
Yeah.
This is the one they're watching in person, and as people are literally falling down, human beings are falling down. They have chess pieces
Yeah.
knock off to mimic the human beings. I mean, that's what they think of these people as chess pieces, literally. Anyhow, it's just so awful, so dark
Yeah.
and awful when I think about it.
You know what? Do you know with that game in particular, like, you know, towards the end of the game, right? Like we already have like Doksu is dead, the gang guy, and like, you know, Minyo, the crazy lady, I guess. I loved her. She was my favorite character.
Yeah.
But you know, she took him down, and I think it I can't remember. It must have been after. God, I can't remember now if it was before or after he dies. It must be after those two died. But the guy towards the end who was like, I used to work in a glass factory.
Oh yeah, that was.
Why are we bringing this up now?
Yeah. Well, you know what's so interesting is I think one of them said it. You know, like, how come you didn't speak up before? And he was like, well, nobody seemed to care for me, or nobody seemed to care, like,
Was that what that was? Like,
he was like,
no one asked me anything. No one asked.
I remember a moment where they addressed it, and he was just being petty to be petty, quite frankly. um so anyhow, I mean, he didn't last for very long either, because Sung was like, okay, enough of you. Well, and then
that
also,
someone was Sang-woo.
yeah, and also they turned the lights off on him because they were like, oh, this is a disadvantage. I mean, look, this is some really jacked up version.
This is some bullshit.
Yeah, like he had the slightest advantage possible because of what he does in his career, which is working with glass, and so he could tell if it was tempered glass or not. And then they were like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Rich people.
Come on, assholes.
Like, that's not fair. So
they're not playing by our rules with the tools that we give them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like,
yeah, it's like any kind of modicum of success that they could possibly have was taken away from them too. Like, that's just anyhow. Yeah. It gets me so mad. Okay, so we've been kind of like hopping from one thing to another quite a bit, but I do want to go back to like the pivotal moments of the games. You know, because of course there are these like 6 games, but to me the most important one of all of them was the marble game.
yeah.
And the reason being is they were, in most cases, they were teamed up more or less, like most of the
They're
games
paired up.
you know, in teams, but in this particular
they're
they were paired up. And so what was interesting is they, you know, there was like a husband and wife team, but they didn't realize that they were going to be pitted against each other. And so you see like how the relationships kind of how they're tested and challenged, because you've got this like husband and wife couple that have to just essentially decide either you're going to win or I'm going to win. There was no room for like both winning. And then you've got Sungwoo and Ali. You've got, oh gosh, help me with names because I'm
old man and Gyun.
Well, old man and Gyun. And then you've got
it was Ji Young and Sebyok.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you know, okay, well, for me it's like Sungwoo and Ali was, I think for most of us, like the most eye-opening one.
That was the saddest one.
And the saddest one because of the amount of betrayal. But what I think I would like to just point out is at this point, Sung Woo and Ali, like they've gotten closer throughout the Squid Games. And Ali's always like referring to him as boss or sir, very, formal. And at some point earlier in the show, Sung Woo tells him, call me brother.
Yeah.
Uses the word hyung. And in that episode, what really kills me is Ali like yelling out hyung
At the end. Yeah.
yes. And Sung Woo, he knows, like, I mean, he completely betrays him, essentially using taking stones and replacing his marbles with stones. And he doesn't even look back for a second. He does not even look back for a second and hears the gunshots. Oh God, that like kills me. And the thing with the translation is you don't see it translated as brother, you just see it translated as Sung Woo. So to me, if you understand the Korean and the reference of that word,
Yeah.
and the sort of like weight that word carries, it's even more
Even more heartbreaking.
even more heart-wrenching, because it's like, that's my brother that just betrayed me. Damn, that was whoa. And then you've got the North Korean girl, and she was the orphan, right?
Yeah.
And that was another very I felt deep moment, or just very like heart-wrenching moment as well, because I think they really respected each other. They weren't trying to betray each other. There was no betrayal there. That was absolutely sacrifice. Like I think that was an act of love in many ways, because
that was probably the most honest game.
Yeah, it was.
Out of all of them, right?
Yeah, it was because for the orphan girl, she had decided, after hearing the story of the North Korean girl story, of how she had the brother still to take care of. She still had family to take care of, and her mother potentially to bring into South Korea.
Yeah.
So,
but what a sad thing to think that like you have no value because you don't have anyone else, because you don't have any family. Like, yeah.
And like, I don't know, like, well, yeah, there was some,
but I understand.
I think it was kind of like, you have people that are relying on you.
Yeah.
And I don't. And so that was a huge act of love, in my opinion, a huge sacrifice. Yeah. She sacrificed her own life. That was also hit me hard. Those two. And then, of course, we've got the old man. Oh gosh. I have to say, I appreciate the acting there with the old man, in the sense that he was like, was he really having a moment of dementia?
No.
You see, like that was so slick.
So when I was watching that episode, I had inadvertently seen like some sort of a meme that kind of gave like a tiny hint, but it like kind of ruined the ending for me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, no, is this guy like, he's not dead? Because they make it a point to like, show you like every single person being killed except for the old man. And I was like, yep, he's not. He's still alive.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? Like, I didn't really think about it because they didn't show us, like purposely didn't show us, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's such a, I think that's like a common kind of like Bollywood trick, even like, don't show them. I just feel like I did not think about it, that he could.
I think we were probably.
It did not occur to me that he could be alive. Like, maybe I'm just really naive or something, because I was like, what? He's alive? Yes.
Well, I think we're so overloaded with so many characters being killed so quickly that we're like, I don't have the fucking bandwidth.
Well, because
to take in this other guy.
Because I have another friend and she's also Indian, and I just felt like, you know, she was just like, yeah, but seen that like that trope or that trick that they do all like so many times. I was like, oh, maybe it's like,
but it still works. It still works. I think had I not stumbled upon social media, I probably would have been just as
been shocked,
surprised.
Well, this friend of mine, I don't think she saw like any kind of meme or whatever. She was just kind of like, yeah, I'm not that naive. You didn't show us kill him, so he's probably alive. Just like you feel about the cop, right? So same thing. Anyhow,
well, the cop, he like legit just falls.
I'm with you on the cop too. Like, I'm with you on the cop. He had 12% left on that battery. That much I know.
God damn it.
I don't know why. This is like,
it's probably also waterproof. It probably survived the water.
Yeah. Like, so for you all, if you're listening, to know, I'm terrible with remembering names, but I will remember that 12% battery. Like, I will just remember that 12% battery. Something about numbers in me, I remember that kind of stuff. But anyhow, yeah, he was sending stuff out. So there was a lot of like, you know, you see the thing rolling and like taking its time to like be sent out. You see that, whatever it is.
Again, he was shot in the shoulder.
And he was shot in the
shoulder. His brother was shot in the other shoulder.
Oh yeah.
I was like, you can't be dead from a gunshot wound to your
you know what? So shoulder. Okay, so since we're on that, how do you feel about this whole situation where the cop is the reason he's even there to begin with is he's trying to find his brother and he's worried about him. He's been missing. And that Squid Game card is what keys him in because Gyun comes to the
police station
and is like, there's this crazy thing called the Squid Game happening, and nobody believes him, right? But like, he's like, oh wait a minute, I've seen this card before, and he goes to the brother's
and again it's in that black box.
Yes, and he's going to the brother's apartment, and he sees it again, and so he's working like basically undercover. And we get to the point where he's on this hill and his brother takes off his mask, the front man takes off the mask, and they finally know, like, it's confirmed, you are the front man, you were a part of the games, and
you are also my brother.
Yes, and you're also my brother. And I think this is what's going to be interesting. Squid Game 2 and 3, I think will hopefully get into the backstory of this brother, and that is, and like how he even got to where he got to. I know he was like a former player, but like psychologically, what the fuck happened to you, that you would shoot your own brother? Like, this is how important this damn game is to you, that you would kill your own.
I wonder, I don't see, but the thing is, I don't think he killed him because this guy has
I know that he didn't kill him, but what I'm saying is, like, I would never I hope I would never shoot my sibling. You know what I mean?
You would if you had to, because the thing is, like, he's not the highest up, right? Ranking wise, he's not. There is always somebody that is above him. So if anything, he would probably end up being killed. No one else knows the identity of this cop except for him. That no one else knows that they are related. So I wonder if this was his way of like also saving him by shooting him in the shoulder.
That's possible.
Because he knows that probably will kill the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he did have all these other people, the pink soldier,
that were like all watching.
They're all watching. Yeah. I mean, he's in a tough spot. And it does affect him because they have a scene where he's crying his eyes out and he feels terrible. So there is some sense of compassion or
some guilt.
Some guilt. Yeah, like there's a heart in there somewhere. Yeah, I would love to see in Squid Game 2, 3, whichever numbers of Squid Games there end up being. I would really like to know more about this front man and his journey.
And also Gyun's revenge.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's definitely going to be covered, but yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much about the front man we still don't know, even in the first season. So, yeah, I think that the cop will come back as well, and will the outside world, I think, will learn about this game somehow.
You think? I feel like it's not
I
going to
mean,
happen. At
that,
least, like, so if they're planning 2 and 3, I feel
well, I
like
mean,
the
it may
world
not,
isn't going to know until
it may
3.
not be the next one, but it may be the one after. But I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, those files were going out there. I saw them getting sent out somewhere. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
They're in the cloud still. They're still being sent.
they're in the cloud. Oh my god, so funny. Um, well, okay, so we've got towards the very, very end of the Squid, not the end of Squid Game, rather the glass game, I should say, the glass
Yeah.
game. Um, it's comes down to 2 people.
Because spoiler alert, Sabio gets stabbed.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was just yes. So well, it comes out with 3 people after the glass game, I should say.
Yeah.
Technically. And that poor, you know what? I was so pissed off with the writer on this one, because I was like, why did you have to put this giant piece of glass in her abdomen, and then she ends up like suffering? Why did you have to do that to her? Anyhow, so rude.
I agree. I agree. And I think because there was a ton of foreshadowing in this, right? Like pretty much like in every episode, every scene that's like commenting on what's to come. And I was like, I did notice that like the steak that they were eating, all 3 of them, I was like, that is a really bloody steak. Like no good can come of this. I was like, who eats steaks like that?
Yeah, bloody steak. And that last dinner was just so creepy to me.
It was weird.
It was
Everyone's like in a tux. They're all like sweating through the tux.
Well, she's sweating and bleeding.
And bleeding, yeah.
And then yeah, and then they leave after they're finished with this like huge meal. It was like the first huge meal they've had since they started the games. They end up,
They leave a knife.
that's what I was about to get. Yeah. They end up leaving a steak knife. Every player has this knife, and it's like, yet again, you have a choice. Like, do you want to win this game now or later? Kind of, it felt like that. But yes, just to kind of get well, Sung Woo, and so okay, Sebuk is basically, she's dealing with this injury, and I think it's just, because it is just the 3 of them at the end. You've got Sung Woo, and you've got Yoon, who are such different personalities, and I think it comes down to like Sung Woo is just like all about himself, and Yoon is like, let's team up.
Yeah, what is it? While she was bleeding out, but she wasn't dead. At that point, and there's something that kind of like bothered me slightly. So like him and Sebyok were like having this conversation of like, oh, what would you do with the money, like if you won and stuff like that. And for him, it was like his priorities were slightly off. So he was like, first I would pay off my debt, second I would buy my mother a store, and then third he would be a good dad. I was like, why is that why is that the last thing?
Yeah, fatherhood was not his, was it?
Putting that off like at the end. and it's kind of the same thing that happens at the very end, right? Like even when he's going to go get the revenge or whatever, like he's supposed to be on his way to the US to see his daughter, but apparently his revenge comes first. So like, little girl, you're just gonna have to wait. Daddy's not coming home.
Yes.
Yes. But I thought that was so odd that was still like that kid is still being put at the end.
Yeah, it's true. She's not the first priority for Gyun, that's for sure. But yes, I mean, I feel like Gyun, at least when it comes to Sabuk, is like, okay, let's team up. Like we can win against him, and we
Yeah.
can split the money, and you've got this brother, and eventually she knows that she's not gonna make it through.
Yeah.
That's it's exactly why she says here, this my brother's like I think she is just like, can you please take care of my family if I don't?
Yeah.
And I'll do the same for you too, but I'm pretty sure she knew she was
That's not gonna happen. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he does think, he does in the end. But yeah, it comes
Again, very strange the way that it was done, which was like adopt the kid, leave him with this random lady, which is Sungwoo's mother, and a suitcase of money.
It was very it was very kind of from the I don't know, like the writer was just like, okay, let's tie this up. Let's just
let's just drop off the kid
whose mom is lonely and let's just give him a kid, and like I don't know, but
she's an older lady. Could you imagine like an older lady having to be like a mom all over again?
Right, I know.
It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, but what I think, the last game is so, just it really comes down to these two friends, Sungwoo and Gyun. Like they've been friends, they've known each other for such a long time, and it's just like they're completely pitted against each other in this last game, the Squid Game, and in the end, Gyun, because Sungwoo gets injured and is on the ground and he's pretty much like gone for. But even then, Yoon is kind of like, see, this is the thing. I know he's an awful father and he's like awful.
He's so terrible.
But there is something refreshing about, I mean, there's still like, I guess that shred of humanity that he does have where he's like.
I think he's a complete like shitty person.
Yeah.
But it's just like.
Well, I guess in comparison to Sungwoo, he's like a, heart of gold, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, Sungwoo is just really like lost himself, maybe he was this wonderful, he went to Seoul University, like he attended Seoul University and he was up and coming and he was doing really well in his career. And there was, because Gyun always tells him like, oh, but
he was telling everyone
like, why are you here? You were like he saw him as this person to admire, this person that had his shit together. And now, like, he's in the same boat as Gyun, who's like, definitely like lost his way. So anyhow, they're in this like last moment with each other, and Gyun is like, okay, Sungwoo, let's do this. Let's win this together. And Sungwoo,
he did.
It's very interesting to me because I did not see that coming. He was willing to just put the knife in his throat. I really did not think that
after all that time, right? Because like even before they all agreed to like go back, the second time around to go back, like he was in the bathtub, and I think at that point he was like he had slit his wrist or something, like he was like gonna kill himself, right?
Well, what's so interesting actually is that each of them in the second episode have a moment. So Sungwoo's in the bathtub, the guy, what is it, Dong, the one he the one that,
the gangster.
Yes, I'm having trouble with names. I'm so
that's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah, so he jumps off a bridge,
but he wasn't killing himself, he was trying to get away,
right? But it was all foreshadowing of how they would die. So so Sungwoo is like in this shower, or sorry, in the bath, the water, and then it starts raining in the last episode when he dies. So he's like completely wet in the rain, kind of thing, completely wet in the bath, like very similar motif. And then you have Sebok is like, she had a knife, she was working with somebody who, she
who was trying to get her family out of the north, right?
And so she had a knife against his throat. She ended up dying with the knife against her throat. I mean, it's all foreshadowing of how they died in many ways. But
the characterization of Sungwoo, right? Like he's in that state of like wanting to die in like episode 2,
Yeah.
But I was like, what? He caught like a second wind or something like that, like throughout the rest of the games where he is willing to throw, other people under the bus.
I mean, our
And then
boy
at the
Ali
very
under the
end,
bus for sure.
yeah. And then at the very end, he ends up like, no, man, like,
Yeah, that's
I
what
think
I thought was so interesting. Like, why did he give up then? Like, I mean,
after he killed the other lady.
yes. I mean, Yoon is essentially extending an olive branch. Like, let's do this together. We can
Do you
win
think
together.
that there's like some shame also attached to that?
Perhaps. I just thought it was an interesting choice for him because it's not what I would have expected. Um, but anyhow, I mean that what that ends up doing is allowing our man Gyun to win the entire 456 billion like I mean
45.6.
45.6. Am I saying 456? Sorry.
Yeah, because he's number 456.
Okay. Yeah. Won. I meant to say won, not dollars.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets the whole piggy bank worth.
And he doesn't use any of it. In fact, he borrows money from a bank.
I think it was like 10-1 or something.
Yeah, he's like, can I borrow 10 from you? And he's like, for real?
Yeah. I mean, it's so ridiculous that the bank calls him and is like, so sir, you have all this money like
You
sitting.
just haven't been using it.
Would you like to put it in some kind of other account? Like, because banks need your money essentially to make money off of you. And so yeah, it's an interesting thing where he's like, can you give me $10?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Because I think he's just testing. He's just testing things like I don't know. It's just
like it was like because it's still blood money, right? So that's why he's probably like not using it and what have you. That it's never.
Yeah, I mean, we
so
see
he's constantly borrowing, like because it's isn't it like 1 year later? It's literally
that's what I was about
to later.
Yeah, I was gonna say that we see a span of like right after the Squid Games and then a year later, he's so depressed. And his mom is gone at this point,
Oh yeah, that was quite a thing to come back to. Like mom's gone, kids in the US, like
yeah,
everyone else is dead.
He really doesn't have much motivation or anything to truly live for. And then he is called back by the one and only
old man.
Yes. Old man.
And that's who's still alive.
The guy is alive. He was never shot. And
yeah.
And when asked, because it's like, why did you create this? He's the creator of Squid Game, essentially, we learn. And the biggest question for us, even as the viewers, is like, why did you create this game? And the story is that I was bored. We were bored. Like that is so crazy to me.
It is because he's like, whether you're rich or you're poor, like what am I gonna do with all this money? Oh no.
The struggle of boredom is what led to Squid Game. I mean, if you think about it, right? Oh my gosh, it's
like what a jerk.
What a jerk. So I guess it's like what is sort of the I mean, I don't know if the writer is trying to say anything specifically about essentially it's like, is money too much money not good for us then? Is that what we're saying here?
Too little money is not good.
Like, I don't know. But, a lot of people in post discussions talk about the fact that this, and the writer too, this was about late stage capitalism and what we see, we're currently in late stage capitalism, with multinational corporations and like it's extreme inequality of rich and poor.
But apparently we're exactly the same, right? The extremely rich and the extremely poor, in like what this guy is saying. We're the same.
I mean, I think he was just sort of like both rich and poor struggle to
don't know what to do with money.
Yeah. And so what does that mean, like, for those of us who maybe are middle class? Like, I guess we're in the good spot.
Yeah, we're in the sweet spot.
We're in the sweet spot. Is that what it is? We should really have a balance. And is this whole thing about balance then of money? I don't know.
You're like, man, I wish I had that extra cash to like pay my student loans that I'm probably never gonna pay back. Like,
it was just an interesting I guess take on, I don't know. I don't know, like, to what degree does the writer truly believe in the rich? Like, are they so bored out of their minds that we are pawns to them? Is that what essentially the writer feels about our society and capitalism in general and just how things are? I mean, I know there's a lot of discussion about, and a lot of anti-capitalism sentiment these days.
yeah,
I essentially, I do, obviously I understand, like, I get it, like, I totally get, like, how you could completely hate, like, Jeff Bezos or someone like that.
yeah,
Totally
we're
get
putting
it.
money into like rockets instead of like actually helping people.
Oh,
Like,
I
let's take it
absolutely,
right into space.
absolutely 1000%. Um, I find that there's a lot of greed in our society, and Wall Street and all those people and all the, uber rich type people. I just, I don't know, I'm kind of wondering, like, this is just me personally as Pooja, like, is socialism or any other economic system really going to work out? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of would be interesting, another conversation, but it's just like, the writer didn't offer any solutions per se to this problem, but it was just like, okay, let me illuminate the problem. Let me just illuminate the fact that the rich are just disgusting. Disgusting in many ways. Like, that's how it kind of came off. And that those of us who are struggling with money, like, we're just so desperate that we're just like, we're like their prey. I feel like that's all it really ended up being about. And I would be so interested to know, like, in Squid Game 2, Squid Game 3, kind of what, if there is any kind of, I know that there'll be some kind of revenge, obviously. But, like, even if the Squid Game no longer existed, there's still society. There's still society.
Yeah, there's still the rest of the world that you have to contend
Right?
with, because it's no longer just like an evil corporation, right? It's like what this corporation has set up in society, essentially.
Yeah, and there's that moment where the old man, he's in his deathbed, and he's there's this
On Christmas, by the way. I was like, is this a Christmas show? What's going on? It's like Christmas Eve when he goes to visit, and he's waiting for it to like strike midnight.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little too like,
waiting for Santa.
Yeah.
Is Santa gonna perform a miracle?
But there's this man who's drunk out there on the streets, and essentially he says, let's play another game, and let's see if anybody comes and helps this man. Like, who's right? Because his philosophy was like, nobody cares, nobody's gonna come and help. And
I was kind of on that. I was on that boat too. I was like, considering what we've seen throughout the entire show, no one does step in and help.
Yeah, and Gyun, he's looking at the clock. And he's just like, come on, somebody, come on. So I think what it says is that Gyun still believes that there's some kindness in the world left.
Again, what kind of threw me was I was thinking that he was going to run out himself.
Oh yeah, that's true. He should have.
He could have done that. He did see the man suffering, but again, he's still in that, like,
yeah, you're right.
He's not a participant, right, in making it better. He's still watching in the hopes that somebody else will like intervene.
Ooh, that's a good point, Deepa. Like, honestly, that
he had all that time to go down and prove the man wrong by doing it himself, and he still didn't do it.
Right. But then, that's kind of a lot of people who just love to stay on the sidelines and complain about how society sucks and then don't do jack shit. So whatever. But yeah, eventually someone does come.
That is not Gyun.
Right. But eventually someone does. It's like cops or something that come and proves the old man wrong, but the old man dies anyway, whatever. But it's like,
oh, the other old man, not the one outside.
Yeah, not the one outside, the one
Oh, Ilnam.
old man, the rich old man, old Ilnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think it just that moment just kind of leaves you with like, yeah, which side of the fence are you on? Are you on the like nobody gives a shit, we're all just kind of for ourselves, we're all selfish and greedy bastards, like we're just all that, or is there some kindness? Can we be okay? Will we be okay? Like, can we get?
I'm hoping to lean more that way, but like it's been really freaking tough.
It is. It's hard. I mean,
as of late, I'm like, I don't have a lot of hope for people helping one another. It's not looking great.
I mean, I will tell you, like 2020 definitely challenged me, the optimist. I consider myself an optimist, and 2020 definitely challenged me. I became very cynical. I'm trying to turn things around now because I just think that cynicism just kills your heart at the end of the day, and
my heart's dead.
My heart's dead. Ouch.
I'm way past. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm still waiting for people to prove me wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of look at it as it's on you, buddy. It's on you. Like, that's your karma, I guess. If you are going to be an asshole in the world, like, that's on you. But yeah, I mean, the system is not favorable, and certainly is advantageous to those with money and privilege. So we still have to deal with that at the end of the day. But
and you know what else we also have to deal with at the end of the day?
What's that?
Is Gyun's red hair.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
why?
Why? Yeah, that was. Yeah, I feel like
he could have gone blonde. He could have gone platinum blonde, but he didn't. I think he had like 3 choices.
Yes, I mean,
there really wasn't a reason, right? Like, I think the writer was like, it was just shocking and unexpected. I think he was going for like a new look, new me type thing.
The direct, okay, so it says, you could say it signifies how Gyun cannot return to the past. And it represents the character's fury and rage, is what
I guess it matches fury and rage. I thought he was gonna go and like shave his hair. Take it all off, right?
Yeah.
It's more like liberating and literally shedding the past.
Yeah. Well, I guess this fury and rage is what's going to essentially bring him back to the Squid Game, try to dismantle the entire system, at least the South Korean version. If there are other versions, we don't know yet.
You think he's gonna play again? Because he did call.
He's the winner. So this is the thing. Like, was the front man one of the previous winners?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so does that put him in a higher rank in terms of the Squid Game, and maybe he has some, I don't know, agency over how it runs or any of that? I don't know what. Yeah. I don't know what happened
because he would never come back as like a guard or anything. Because
right.
the guards.
Could he replace the front man? Like, could he be Could he also be a front man? We don't know. I mean,
knowing that he's trying to sabotage, like they're probably not going to be like, hey man, should we give you the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, they know they're watching him even after the Squid Game, so they probably have
I mean, he runs into the guy who's slapping another person.
Yes.
Play dress.
Yes. It like felt like one of those loop type of moments, like, oh great, now we're on a loop. This is gonna start all over again.
It never ended. It's kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's done. Like, I wonder how many games per year they're having.
Yeah, there's so much still to be known about the Squid Games and the operations.
Yeah,
and the whole setup. And also, like, now that the old man isn't around, who's
taking over?
Yeah, who takes over?
Maybe it's a front man.
Maybe it's the front man. Yeah, we don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of our first episode of the Squid Game. We hope that you enjoyed listening to our take on it, however much kind of here and there it was. Sorry, we do like to hop around, but hopefully you were able to follow along with us and enjoy the conversation. And we hope to do it again with another. We love K drama, so we've got
Yeah,
whole
keep an
list,
eye out
a
for.
whole list of K dramas that we want to talk about, and we hope that you join us again.
Thank you.